There's no bears in this wild Serengeti bear. I don't know how I feel about that. I guess there's just no bears there.
Join the team.
Hey team, this is McGuire Review, and this is a brand new board game from Bad Comet. It's going to be hitting Kickstarter literally when this video is coming out. This is the Wild Serengeti. You can see the awesome artwork there on the front, and I will have to say this is going to be, I think this is going to be one of those thinker type of games that is going to be very popular. After this is kickstarted and comes out, it really is a thinker, and it's designed very well. Now, Bad Comet is the same company. We've got the game right here that made this game right here, which was also very popular and did very well. It's got very good design, and I found that this game followed the same approach with a very good design, really high components, really well done artwork. Everything just really hits on this game. And I think once you really play it, and we're going to go through the components, we're going to go through the mechanics of what makes this game really good and how this game works. We're not going to do a full-scale gameplay by any means. We're just going to look at a true review of the mechanics and how the game works, so you can understand what kind of game this is and if this is going to be the game for you. And the reason why I say that is because this game can be a real thinker. I mean, you really can get into some analysis paralysis with this, and I do recommend when you start this game just saying, hey, after a minute or so, we go to the next person, because there are a number of things that you can do on this board, and it is a point-style game. So you're going to be winning the game if you get the most points along this track by proper positioning of all of these awesome animals here. Now, before we go any further, we are going to be doing an epic style giveaway on this one, and that's it. What you see is the giveaway. So I am going to be running a prototype giveaway, and I will say that although this is a prototype version of the game, and it is, it comes with all the special little bits that you're going to see within the Kickstarter. It does come with some other little special cards that I believe you'll see unlocked and you'll get within the Kickstarter. And I will have to say this is a very close to production prototype style of this game. Everything is really high quality. It is not production quality, but it is very high quality, especially a lot of these cardboard bits and the little screen printed animal wooden tokens. The boards are even in really nice condition. The art, it already has the coating on it. I mean, just everything is really high quality. So just know that you're getting a very high quality prototype run of this game. And obviously, if you win the prototype in this giveaway, you're going to have the full game well before anybody else has it, because obviously it's got to be kickstarted and it's got to be put into production and then released. Okay, so this is a pretty awesome giveaway, I would say. I always get in these situations where I kind of want to keep it because this is the prototype edition and it's kind of got everything, but that's how we roll here on the McGuire Review. We try to do these giveaways, and when I get a chance to do these prototype giveaways or giveaways of production copies, I'm all for it. And the prototypes are always well received because you get to have the game early, especially when it's a super high quality version of the game that you're getting. So how do you enter the giveaway? It's going to be two ways you're going to be able to enter the giveaway. You want to be a subscriber of the channel. If you're already a subscriber, you don't have to hit unsubscribe and resubscribe. Don't do that. It's not benefiting you in any way. But if you're not subscribed, you want to subscribe to the channel and you want to comment below on this video. You can leave any comment that you would like. Maybe it's about the game. Maybe something you think about the game. Maybe you just want to say hi. Maybe you want to talk about something that I say in this video. Leave that comment below. That gets you one ticket in the hat. Go to my Twitter and follow me on Twitter. There'll be a video posting for this game. You want to follow me on Twitter, like and retweet this tweet for the video of this game. And that gives you a second ticket in the hat. I'll pull all that together on the last day of this Kickstarter. Again, the Kickstarter is starting here very soon, if not right when this comes out. Go check out the Kickstarter. The links will be in the description below. On the last day of the Kickstarter, I will select, well, Bear will actually press the button of fate, and the lucky winner will get this prototype shipped to them. It's open worldwide. It'll be shipped to you for free. Okay? All right. Wild Serengeti. So what is this game all about? All right? This is going to be a thinker. It's going to be a placement style game. You're going to be using cards in your hand and trying to get these animals positioned out here on this board. And you can see the board has a number of spots here. Each one of those is where an animal will be placed, only one per spot. And they also have a little icon here which indicates the type of land terrain that's in that spot. So you might have water or plains or mountains, different style of area there where the animal may be positioned. And you're going to want to get those animals positioned in various different ways that are going to be on cards that you're going to have, and that's going to earn you points. You're also going to get those cards. Once you kind of earn those cards, you're going to put them out in front of you, and they start to build somewhat of a tableau as well. And then other cards, as you earn, the rewards may be based on the tableau that you've already created. That's one style of getting points. Another style is some of those cards you get out on your tableau are worth a certain amount of points at the end of the game. So once you hit the end of the game, there's like these bonus points you might be getting. If you have a bunch of cards that have the little heart icon on it, you're going to be able to get bonus points at the very end of the game. So that's how the point system in the game is going to work overall. It's very simple from that perspective because you are a director that is shooting the best animal documentary that you can. And that's the whole theme of this game. And I think from a theme perspective, the game is done very well. In my opinion, it kind of drips of theme, as they say. I don't know, maybe I just say that. You are a wildlife director trying to set up the perfect scene and the perfect shots to develop your wildlife documentary. And that's the whole concept of getting the animals positioned out on the board in certain ways, and then you'll want to manipulate and move them around to maybe achieve other shots that you want to get within your wildlife film. So that theme alone is really interesting and really drew me in, and I felt like that theme plays out really well across the game, and you really do kind of feel like this director that's shooting this wildlife film. So let's hit some of the components here, and then we'll talk about the mechanics and the gameplay. You're going to have a nice, hefty deck of your cards, and these cards are going to be very, very different. And these are the cards we talked about where you're going to be getting these cards and trying to achieve what's on the actual card here. And there's a number of different scenes that you can create. You can create scenes that, hey, we want these 3 animals in this order in a straight line. So you're going to have to find a straight line where these animals are in that order on the board. And if you're able to achieve that, there is no immediate, down here will be kind of immediate rewards once you achieve it, but there's these icons up top that you'll get, and that's part of that tableau we talked about. Like once this card is achieved, you'll put that out in front of you in your tableau, and then for this one in particular, at the end of the game, the person that has the most of these little hearts here, actually it isn't the most of the hearts, it's just that if you have a bunch of these hearts, you can get extra points at the end of the game. So that's how that's going to work. This one here, another straight line. Let's look at this one, which is a nice little scene here. It just says that got to have 2 lions and an antelope that are adjacent around one another. These 2 lions have to be adjacent to this antelope, and the antelope also has to be on a water area, and one of the lions has to 100% has to be on one of these plains areas. And if you can achieve that, you're going to get this little icon at the top that's going to benefit you in your tableau. It's also going to give you this immediate benefit when the card is played. And what that's going to do is it says, well, if I have these 3 icons, for every 3 of those icons I have out in front of me, I multiply that by 3, and then I get that many stars, which essentially just means I get that many points along the track. So that's one of these mechanics where you're going to want to potentially achieve this card when you have this available in your tableau. You may not want to just do that right away because that only executes when you immediately achieve this. Now, you're going to get another flower that's going to add into your tableau, and that's great. But if you really want to get these points, you want to achieve this card when you already have a number of these other symbols that are out in your tableau that you've already achieved in the games. This may be a later in the game type card you'll want to play. And you may want to hang on to that card a little bit longer to be able to achieve that to get that maximum point value. So that's how that's going to work. And there's a number of other different types of scenes. You know, this one here just says you got to have a buzzard in a buzzard. Oh, maybe it is a buzzard. You got to have a buzzard in a water area, and you got to have one in a mountain area, and that's it. You just somewhere on the board you've got one of these in a water, and you got one of these in a mountain. Okay, if that happens when it's your turn and you have this card, you can achieve this. There is no immediate benefit, and you get another heart. You can achieve that and put that out in front of you. Okay, that's how that's going to work. Okay, and that's all the different types that you're going to have in the game, but they do vary greatly. So maybe you'll have to have 3 on the board somewhere, or 4, or 5. Maybe you'll have to have one like this, where you got to have 3 different animals adjacent to this tiger here. And the tiger has to be in a tree area, and the giraffe has to be in a plains. And if you achieve this one, you get immediately a little meat. Okay, we'll talk about what these tokens mean here in a second, but I think that's all we'll say here on the cards. They're that straightforward, and that's how your tableau is going to be built. Now, when you start the game, you will be handed 8 of these cards, and you will be allowed to choose 4 of them and put the rest back. So you'll start the game with 4 of these cards, and then every round you'll draw 4 more of these, and you'll get to keep 1. You can also use an action along this board, and we'll get here to in a second, where it will allow you to draw more of these cards so you can get more of these cards out in front of you, because you don't want to be in a situation where you're able to do stuff and you've got currency to be able to do stuff, but you don't have enough of these cards, or you've run out of these because you've burnt through them so quickly. So be careful when you achieve these cards. I think that's one of the mechanics that I'll say in this game that I think works really well is the timing of when you choose to execute these cards will make a big difference in your ability to score the maximum amount of points around this track. If you're just saying, oh, I can do it, so you just do it, but you're not doing it when it makes the most sense on the board to do it, you're not going to get hardly any points. You may be building out your tableau, and that might pay off for you later in the game, because it is I would say it's a fairly lengthy game with 6 rounds, and I think the first few rounds are going to be longer than the last few rounds, and I'll explain that here in a minute once we get to some of these other components. But the first half of this game is going to feel a little longer than the second half of the game, and I'll also say the game really follows sort of this, climatic sort of. It's like you're building up this story and this documentary, and then it hits this climax, and then it kind of comes down. And it's designed really well to do that. And that was something else that really jumped out to me when we were going through and playing this game. I thought was really cool. Each person is going to have one of these little play, pause, stop bars, kind of your little, like you're editing your film. You are going to put that in front of you. They do come in different colors. So you'll pick kind of your player color. It will align with these right here will be your 4 player colors. So, this one's green. Kind of the middle is the color that it would be for the player. And you're going to set this out in front of you. And what we did is we kind of put our cards below it that we weren't, executing yet. And the cards we had already executed that were in our tableau, we put above it. And that's kind of how we separated those cards, is how we used this little bar here. This is going to be the first player little token here, which is pretty cool, this little tree with the little birds in it. You're going to pass that around, and that'll go to the player that will start and be the first player for that round. We already said these are the player tokens here. They are really cool little cameras, and you'll get 2 of these. One of them will be set on the tracker here, so you'll put all 4 kind of on the tracker there. And then the other one will represent your little token that you'll use to place on this board when you're actually selecting actions. And we'll talk more about that here in a second. You will receive some little icon guides. So these are little player aids telling you exactly what a turn is going to look like, some of the actions you can take on your turn, what's free, what's basic, as well as the icon guides on the back that shows all the different icons and how you can score points over the course of the games. These are really handy. I love it when they throw in these little guides. This here is a deck that can be used if you want to do some advanced rules. So there are characters that are on the back of these cards. That's simply all you will find, and it will allow you to select one of these when you start the game, and it gives you a benefit. Maybe it's a beginning of game benefit, an end of game benefit. It's just a little something extra to kind of add in if you want to give each person something that's a little bit uniquely different than what everybody else has. If you want to keep this like a classic Euro where it's kind of fair across the board outside of the draw of the cards that come out of this deck, just wits versus wits, then you're not going to want to use something like this. But if you want to have a little fun and give each player something unique, that's what this deck of cards here is for. And I think these can be really fun as well. This is going to be the Great Migration deck. So this is only going to come into play for that 4, 5, and 6th rounds of the game. And it's got a little icon here, a little antelope sort of jumping, just kind of jumping through the wilderness there. And you're going to draw one of these cards, and essentially what it's going to do is remove animals from the board here. Because what you'll find through the first, second, and third rounds that don't have that little antelope icon, this is just used, this little toucan bird is just used to kind of like which round are we on. You are going to get a number of these animals out here onto the board. It's really going to be, those first 3 rounds, it's really going to be filling up out here. And you're going to get to the point where you're trying to do actions where you're moving animals around and you're trying to position animals. And that's where the longest part of this game is going to come into play, because when it's someone's turn and there's so many options and so many animals out on this board, you really have a lot of option of like what to do. Like, do I put more animals on the board? Do I use actions to move animals around? Do I complete certain cards that I have right now, or wait? If I wait, is the board going to change and then I won't be able to execute on that setup that currently exists on the board? There's so many choices that are going to be available to you. And then you're going to hit round 4 here of the game, and you're going to draw one of these cards. And this card, depending on how many players there are in the game, is going to just remove animals from this board. And you're just going to look at this little graph right here, and everywhere there's a little mark on the board, you're going to take that animal and put it back into its natural habitat. And they're going to be removed from the board. So when you get into that round 3, that's going to be a heavy round for everybody, because you know that Great Migration is coming, and you don't really know because every one of the cards is different. Every one of the little graphs on the cards are different. You don't know where that Great Migration is going to execute and where the animals are now going to be taken off of this board. So round 3 is very, very critical once there's so many animals out on the board to really rack up on a lot of the tableau cards or scene cards that you haven't necessarily used yet, and you've been waiting for a lot of stuff to kind of get out on the board. Because again, there's actions here we can take on our turn where we can manipulate where things have been initially put. Okay, so that's really cool, and you'll see that round 4, 5, and 6 all have Great Migrations. So every round you're taking more and more and more animals off that board. So those first 3 rounds of this game are really critical to be able to get a lot of points, and then you have to get really strategic for those last 4, 5, and 6 rounds where a lot of animals are being taken off. And I just love that design. That design to this game really, really makes this shine in my mind, because you have to really think about the arch, or the storyline of this game as you're going through. Where games that don't have that type of mechanic, where it's like, hey, the board's out there, but the board just doesn't continue to build and build and build every round and is only manipulated by the players, the board is going to start manipulating itself at a certain point in time. And it's done really well. It's done really, really well in this game. Okay? These here are the meat tokens. These are going to be acquired. You're going to gain these as bonuses and rewards, instant rewards by completing these scene cards. And this little meat, if you want to use it, it is a free action on your turn. Just say, hey, I want to use a little meat. What it does is it will draw an animal. So let's say you had an animal, you had a wolf in this water, and you needed to have a wolf in this little plains area. And let's just say that for demo purposes, let's say that accomplished one of your scene cards. Well, you could say, wolf. Yeah, Wolfie, how about some little meats? How about some meats? Get that meat. You could draw that wolf right over into that area by use of that meat, and then you would cash that in. So that's what the meats do. That's all they do. They move an animal to another area to kind of lure an animal. You can use multiple meats on your turn if you want to lure an animal multiple spots or multiple animals to different spots. That's one way to manipulate the board. These coins are essentially your currency. You will start the game with 6 of these coins, and every time it is your turn, you can only take 1 or 2 basic actions. And these are all pretty much your basic actions. That's all you can take, 1 or 2. And it depends on the amount of currency that you have. That's another mechanic that I really like, because you have to strategically decide, when it's my turn, do I just pay... you'll have 6 of these to start the game, and you can acquire more by achieving different things in the game. But do I just want to pay 1 coin, and then let's say I was yellow, and I'll take one of these actions. Okay, I'll take that one, and I'll do that. Okay, if I was to take this action, it says move animal 1 to 3 spaces. So up, down, left, right. Can't go diagonal in this game. So if there's an animal on the board, I could decide to move that animal here, or here, or here, or here, if I took that basic action. Now, outside of free actions, that's all I would do on my turn. I would take my basic action. Maybe I accomplish one of my cards. Maybe I use a meat. Maybe I use one of these special effects tokens. We'll talk about that here in a second. My turn would be over. I'd just take that basic action. Well, I may choose to say, well, I got some more coins left over, and I really want to do something. So I'm gonna take another basic action, but it's gonna cost me 2 coins this time. So now you have to spend 3 coins within a single turn, and that's half of your currency if you've just started a round and you only have 6 coins. So that's another thing that you have to kind of balance, is it could get to the point where you might burn through all your currency on turns before other players have burned through currency. Now, they can't just go on forever. There are rules in this game about that, but it will allow them to have more options as other players. If your currency's all gone and you've passed and there's nothing else that you can do, other players can kind of continue to do their thing unchecked because you've run out of currency, and maybe they use just 1 coin every turn, and you were like 1 coin, 2 coins, 3 coins, like you're just really burning through your currency. So that's something else I like about this game, is you have the choices of player to determine how much of this currency you want to spend on your turn, and you do have that option. So that's how the coins are going to work. These little special effects, icons, or little tokens here are really cool. When you acquire these, again, you'll get them by achieving. They'll be kind of instant rewards by achieving these scene cards. These will allow you to change the environment that an animal is in. So let's say for one of your cards you want to say, well, let's say I need a giraffe in a tree and I need an elephant in a plains, and they have to be in a straight line. Well, I would have that here if this wasn't a rock, a mountainous area. Well, here's a tree. So I either have to get this giraffe by taking an action and moving it over here, and then taking an action to move the elephant, and or maybe using meat to move that elephant over here, and then I can achieve that. But it would be a lot easier if I had one of these little FX or special effects tokens, because I could say, you know what, I'm just going to change this mountain environment to a forest environment. I'm going to use this little special effects token. You can think if you're editing your wildlife footage, it's like, this background just isn't right, so I'm just going to superimpose this animal into a different environment, right? That's essentially what these tokens do. They are very powerful, so you don't earn them a lot. I mean, they are rarer, I found, on these cards, because they are really powerful. I mean, you're literally changing the environment that the animal is in. So those can be very powerful. I definitely recommend hanging on to those as you play, because they really come in handy in a latter part of the game, where when the migration happens and animals are like running off of this board everywhere back to their habitats. that's when it's really going to make a difference, those end game points where you can say, okay, I don't have what I need, but the animals are in the right spot and I can change and modify their environments. So that's what that's going to be used for right there. Okay, these little tokens right here is just to track if you get above 100 points or 200 points. You really can rack up the points in this game if you know what you're doing. These little lock tokens are used to put on the board. The board will have 3-player, 4-player. So if you only have 2-player, you're going to lock all the spots to say 3 and 4-player. If you only have 3-player, you're going to lock all the spots to say 4-player. That's just going to give you less option for the amount of actions you can take and balance that better amongst the players. If you're playing with 4 players, you do not need this component. Everything will be unlocked on the board. And it isn't like you're locking down certain actions. You're just locking down the spots that are within those, because you can only have one person's token on top of that and being able to take that action, unless there is a rule in the game where you can pay 2 coins to take an action that's already locked down that someone already has, even if that's your first basic action. So again, it is available to you, but it's making use of that mechanic where you have to spend more of your limited resources per round to be able to do that. And you are going to unlock 6 coins every round, so you can't end a round with having a coin or 2 left over and have some more coins in the next round. That's a strategy as well. And it will say here right on this round tracker that you will get those 6 coins for round 1, 2, and 3. But in round 4, 5, and 6, you're actually going to get 7 coins within that round. So it's going to give you a little bit more currency to balance all of those animals moving off the board, providing you for going for probably that second basic action. Okay, so that's how those are going to work. This is a neat little mechanic as well. These are little like award ceremonies that you can get, and they only play out in the 4th round and the 6th round. At the beginning of the game, you'll shuffle these up and you'll select 2 randomly. Now, per the rules, you will show these. You'll randomly put them on like that, and you will show exactly what they are. And what it does is it just allows you to get a little award. Like once you get to that round and you score that round, if you're the player that has the most crocodiles, you'll get 2, however many crocodiles times 2 points. If you're a player that has the most, if you're second place, you'll get however many you have, that many points. And you know how many you have because it'll be all the cards you've achieved, not the cards you haven't achieved, but all the cards you've achieved. You'll look at how many of those crocodiles you have. Each one of the animals is in here, and they all work the same way. It's just whoever has the most of that type of animal. So it's just one extra little thing that you can have as you go through the game where you know, hey, I want to have these gazelles and crocodiles, specifically when we get to these rounds. So I might want to start, completing cards that have gazelles and crocodiles on them because it'll be a little bit more points when I can get there. And, if you happen to get a lot of them, it could kind of rack up and get you an extra 10 or more points, right? And it does make a difference when you're playing a game like this. Every point counts because the highest point winner wins, and it doesn't matter if it's 1 point or 100 points, you win. All right, let's wrap up with our basic actions. So there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different choices of basic actions that can be done in this game. And then all of this is kind of a little area to just hold your different habitats, and each one of them is different. So to say, discover large mammals. Well, large mammals are only going to be the rhino, the elephant, and the giraffe. Over here it says discover scavengers, right? And then you got scavenger type animals. So that's kind of neat that they created these little habitats of where the animals are. And then you can decide, well, I may want to, all these top ones are going to be discover. So all the top ones are going to be taking animals from this area. Well, you may come here and say, well, I want to spend 1 coin. Remember, you got to use your currency for my basic action. Spend 1 coin. And I'll put my little marker right there. And I want to discover one of these carnivore predators. And I want a well, we'll just go with our alligator since the alligator is out. I want to get this alligator. Maybe I have a card here, that has, maybe I have a card here that has an alligator on it and some type of scene I need to create with an alligator. In that scene, the alligator needs to be in a water location. So I would grab that alligator and I would put that alligator right there in the water location. And that's it, right? I've done my single basic action. But I may want to say, you know what, I had more coins, and I really want to take a second basic action because I got this card in my hand that just needs an alligator and a let's say a zebra in a line, and the zebra needs to be in this plains area. Well, I may want to pay 2 coins, right, and take my second basic action, which is all the basic actions you can take on your turn. That's the maxed out. And I'll pick this up and I'll put it right down here, and then I'll grab a zebra and say, hey, you know what? There's my zebra in the plains. And I may have a card in my in my area here, one of my 4 that I started with. And it says that right there gains me something. Well, okay, for a free action, that's one of the free actions, I can just say, okay, I completed it, cash it in, maybe I get an instant reward, maybe I don't. Maybe it's just added to my tableau of icons. So that's how that's going to work. So all the top ones are going to be getting our animals from the habitats. All our bottom ones here are going to be manipulating the board or being able to manipulate the cards you have or the cards that are available to all players. So this first one here, swap animal positions. That literally just allows you to swap animal positions on the board. Move animal 1 to 3 spaces. That will allow you to move the animal 1 to 3 spaces. Take 1 card from scene card pool. For an extra gold, take an extra card. So you can obviously cash in 2 gold there to get 2 cards. When you do play this game, there will always be 6 cards of these that are available to all players. That will be laid out on the board. So you'll have those 6 cards that are out there, and you'll have them off the side of the board there. And that's kind of the general pool of the game. You'll have your cards you start with. You'll be able to, draw some cards and select one to have another one, and they're always available to everybody. Nothing's hidden in your hand. All cards are always available to everybody as well. That way you can kind of see what your neighbors have. There may be times where you know what your neighbor's trying to do, and you do something to ensure they can't do that. So that's another mechanic of this game as well that can play out. But these are the ones that are available as a pool to everybody. And you can, go and take this action right here, and there may be one of these cards you really want. You may really want it because there's something that helps you with your tableau you're trying to build out, or you may really want it because it's a really good card that is worth a lot of points that you don't want anyone else to get. So that's what that action is going to allow you to do. And then you can renew the scene card pool and take 1 card. So that's a nice action as well, because for 1 coin, you're being able to take a coin just like you, take a card just like you would. And again, it gives you that extra, pay an extra coin, you can take another card. So you can take up to 2 when you do that action, 2 cards if you pay the proper coinage. But it allows you to kind of burn all these cards and then reset this pool for everybody. And there may be a number of reasons why you want to do that. You may want to do it because you're really going for alligators, and there's not a lot of alligators that are out there. And you want to refresh the deck and see if you can get some more alligators. Or you know that maybe one of your opponents really needs a few of these cards that are out there, and you don't have enough actions to just take the 1 to get it out of their hands. You just want to blow the whole thing away and start over. And you also get to draw a card, one of those cards that comes out of your choice. So that can be a very powerful move as well. There was a number of times playing this game where, I really needed a card that was out there and someone chose this action and blew away the whole pool, and then it's like, oh, now that card's gone, and I really needed that card for a specific combo that I was trying to create for my tableau that I was building out. So that can be an interesting mechanic as well, especially if you're a player that's really paying attention to what every other player is doing. Okay, so that's everything in the game. That's all the mechanics. That is all the different things that you can do. I do want to show just real quickly, and we'll just kind of randomly do this, because this is what this board is going to start to look like once you get to, let's say, round 3 of this game, before things have really started to come off the board in the great migrations. This is what it's going to start to look like. Not this one. That's our action token. That's not an animal. This is what it's going to start to look like out on this board, which is going to start to get, pretty. The board starts to get pretty full, and by round 3, this is essentially what it's going to look like. It's going to start to get very, very slim pickings up here, because most people are going to be selecting these, get the animal from the habitat and get it out on the board where I need it to be able to achieve my cards. It isn't going to be to the great migration where these things are going to really start moving back out. So it's going to be pretty full. So you can think when it's your turn, and let's say you've got, 4 or 5 cards, or maybe more, depending on the actions you've taken there and the amount that you've actually cashed in on so far. And you're going to be looking at these cards, and when it's your turn, you're going to say, okay, I need a draft in the plains. I need a bull or a buffalo in a wilderness and a elephant in a wilderness, and they can be anywhere on the board. Okay, we got there's that in the plains. We need a buffalo in the wilderness or in a tree. Yes, we got one right here. We need an elephant in a tree. Yes, we got one right here. So we could go ahead and cash in on this as a free action on our turn because it's out there. It would immediately give us a meat as a reward, and 2 flowers would be icons we'd put into our tableau that would benefit us on other cards. Like this one right here, if we achieved this one as well, depending on how many cherries, leaves, and flowers we had out on our tableau completed already, plus the icon that's on this card that you're executing, you can add those up +1. It gives you that many bonus points. Now this one is a or, so it has to be cherries or leaves or flowers +1. So if I had this one out there already completed, that would be 2 flowers +1 would be 3. This card would be worth 3 points on my track here. If I completed it, I'd also get a cherry to add into my tableau. So there are a lot of choices, strategic choices that you're making, which what seems like this simple little game of little wooden animals in front of you to be able to reap the right amount of points at the right time, and based on the flow of these rounds and the great migrations that come for the second half of that game. I tell you, Bad Comet has absolutely nailed it on this title. This title, if you're the type of gamer that loves the action positioning, like I want this action, you like Euro-style games, you like point-based games that really reflect your strategic planning and thinking, this is the game for you. You will absolutely love this game. If you have a gaming group that loves these kind of games, it is not a doubt in my mind that after this game is put into production, I believe it probably will be full production by probably the end of 2022. Don't quote me on that, but that's probably about the timing that you're going to see something like this delivered. I can promise you this is going to be one of the best games in 2022 that is based on this type of game style and mechanics. It's just done so well. The design is executed fantastically through this title, all the way from the first round to the 6th round. So that's all we're going to do today with this board game review and the upcoming Kickstarter. You can check this out on Kickstarter probably right now. If you're watching this well after the Kickstarter came out, this is still good because, again, this is almost a production version of this prototype. Don't forget about the giveaway team. We talked about that here at the beginning of the video. If you want to get in on the giveaway of this prototype edition of this game, shipped to you for free, open worldwide, make sure to do that. It will be drawn the last day of the Kickstarter for this game. So go check out the Kickstarter. I highly recommend this game. If this is the type of style of game that you enjoy, you will love this title. I promise you. So hit that like, click the subscribe below to join the team. Keep rolling them crits. This has been the McGuire Review, and we'll see you next time.